Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Years, a show which is dedicated to inform our senior community. My name is William Mendoza, and today we have a special guest with us, insurance advisor and retirement planner, Mr. Victor Plumber of American Senior Benefits. Welcome, Victor.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. The title is pretty interesting, being an advisor, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, what my goal is to assist people with the process of finding the right coverage for them and to make sure that they're in the best place possible. There are so many options, particularly when we're talking about Medicare. There are so many options that are available to people that it can get a little bit overwhelming to try and decipher the number of plans that are available. There are probably more than 70 different Medicare plans available to people to make choices of. And so my goal is to help people wade through all of that and get to the right place.
You know, funny thing is that, you know, they prune us. They get us going into having a financial future, you know. You got to work, you have to save, you need to have a retirement plan in terms of having a pension and your Social Security in place so that you're able to live your golden years. But no one really thinks about the necessity of having a planner, a retirement planner that can plan that retirement out for you.
That's absolutely true. And so many people think that they need to do it on their own, and that, you know, if they use someone to assist them and plan how they're going to get into their golden years, that somehow it's too costly for them. And the reality is that it truly isn't. I mean, the services that my company provides are always free. We don't charge, we're not a fee-based company. We provide services to people that they are going to be able to afford.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, so who is eligible for Medicare?
Well, there are a couple of different types of eligibility. The very basic eligibility for Medicare is someone who is turning 65. That's the usual entry point for Medicare eligibility. But actually, there are some people who are eligible for Medicare based on a disability. If you've been disabled for 2 years and it's certified by, you know, a physician, you're eligible to collect Medicare benefits.
2 years.
2 years of disability will allow you to become eligible for Medicare.
How much does Medicare cost?
The basic premium for Medicare is now, as of January 1st of this year, is $135 a month. That's the basic cost for the Part B. Part A doesn't have a cost, but the Part B does have a premium attached to it. But there are different levels of premium based on income. As your income goes higher, you may pay more for Medicare.
Very interesting. And are these programs to help afford Medicare, or do they have programs that are?
Well, yes. If in the state of Connecticut, if you're a lower income individual, there are programs that will help to pay that Part B, because sometimes it's a little bit difficult to even take that. What is in our minds, you know, it's a small amount of money, but for some people it really isn't. There are programs that will help pay that Part B premium of $135.
It's really important for people to understand that, you know, you're working with a goal in mind of retirement. You're going to eventually retire, and they, in their mind's eye, they think that Social Security would be enough. You know?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you find out that, you know, out of your Social Security check, you know, you got to pay your taxes. On top of paying your taxes, you have to pay for your health plan or your medical.
Yep.
So, you know, what advice is there? I mean, besides the fact that you got to let them know early on, is that that's not all you need to set your sights on. You have to have a planner, somebody that works with you.
Well, and hopefully you have that planner working with you before you get to the point of you're 65 and you're going to Now you're retired. Now what do you have in terms of income? You have your Social Security and not much else. You really should be thinking a few years prior to that, that there's going to come a point where you're no longer working, you're not going to have that income. How are you going to survive? And to your point, you do have to pay for the roof over your head. You have to pay that Part B premium for your Medicare. If you're on medications, depending on the medications that you're taking, those co-pays for medications can be high. So how are you actually going to make that money that's coming in last you for the rest of your life? And that's why you should be planning a little bit, in advance of that day to make sure that you have money to last you.
You get to a certain point in age where, you just can't get up out of bed anymore. I'm one of those guys.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
When I
Well,
open
you're
my
here,
eyes,
though.
yeah, man. I open my eyes in the morning and I ask for permission to get up out of bed. You get to that point where, things become very difficult for you, and you have your health services. How can you afford these health services? Is that part of the planning?
Well, in most Medicare plans, there are some, there can be home services, home care. In general, though, most home care, if it's not part of aftercare after a hospitalization, will cost you extra. But again, if there's a history in your family of people needing care when they get older, that's also part of the planning. There are many different types of financial vehicles that can assist you with that too. So it's something to think about. Do you have longevity? Do you have a history of health issues in your family when people get older? So the family history is usually a predictor of what's going to happen in the future. So take that into consideration and start the conversation earlier to make sure that you're protected when the time comes.
Who can one reach out to for help with the process?
Someone like me
Excellent.
would, hopefully I would be able to help you with that. Again, we sit down, we listen to the concerns of the individual, work with them to come up with a framework and a plan for how things are going to work for them going forward. Make sure that they have enough money to be able to cover all of their needs. And we're not even necessarily talking about you having to have a huge pot of money. Even people who, the working poor, have the ability to at least make things a little bit better for themselves when the time comes. Small amounts of money can turn into a fair amount if you just have the motivation to do it.
But when they go to apply for certain programs, they're saying, hey, wait a minute, you have too much assets, but then you have no income, so you get caught in that in between.
Right. There are some programs that have an asset test, but the Medicare Savings Program does not. The only thing that matters as far as eligibility for the Medicare Savings Program is your income. You can have a house, you can have a car, you can actually have a second house and a second car if you're so fortunate. The only thing that matters is the level of income. And for a single person in the state of Connecticut, the top level of eligibility for a single person right now is $2,135 a month in income. And that's for someone who is collecting Social Security generally. I mean, there are people who are working who may be making more than that, but also there are different levels of eligibility for people who are working. In point of fact, you only count half of the income when you're working. So even people who are making more than $2,135 a month who are working can still be eligible for the Medicare Savings Program. So you don't have to worry about someone telling you you can't get the help because you own a home or you have a car. Because, the point in fact is just because you own a home doesn't mean that you don't have great expenses, because you still have to pay your property taxes. You still have to heat the house. You still have to put food on the table. But if at least there's a way to assist people with giving a little bit of money back in their pocket, that's what the Medicare Savings Program will do.
Now people on Medicare are eligible for Medicaid as well?
Well, that's generally what the Medicare Savings Program is. It's kind of a blend of federal Medicare and state Medicaid. It's a combination program, and the federal government will fund it, and the state administers it. So each state will publish their levels of eligibility.
Wow.
Connecticut, thankfully, happens to be one of the most generous states.
So what is the maximum income for a single person?
Okay, so for the top level of eligibility for the Medicare Savings Program, and let me explain what that actually means. When you're at the top level of eligibility, the Medicare Savings Program will pay for your Part B premium. It will also eliminate co-pays when you go to see your doctor. You won't have to pay to see your physician. And it also caps the amount of money that you will have to pay for the co-pays for your medications. So that's right now, as I said before, is $2,135 for a single individual. There are different limits for couples. Then there are a couple of other levels of eligibility. The third level of eligibility is $2,489. At that level, the state will pay the Part B premium, but you do have to pay the co-pays when you see the doctor. You still do, though, get the limit on the cost of your medications.
Excellent. And your company, is it national base or is it?
Well, we are a national company, in point of fact. We do have an office here, our main office in Farmington. We have a satellite office in Shelton also.
Okay, okay. And are there any other services that you provide?
Many other services. We're a full service agency. Beyond Medicare, we also do like financial planning, Social Security planning, long-term care. We do home and auto also. We cover the full spectrum of financial services.
And you say that this is, how's the fee paid?
The fees are paid by the insurance carriers. And people need to understand also that just because we're paid by the insurance carriers doesn't mean that somehow you're going to pay more for the insurance. That's not how it works. You can do all the work on your own and come up with exactly the same plan, and you're going to pay exactly the same premium as if you just let us do the work for you.
So Victor, let me ask you about your company. Is it a national-based company? Is it regional?
Yeah, no, we are a national company. We do have our local main office in Connecticut in Farmington. We do have a satellite office in Shelton, and those offices are populated with approximately 40 agents.
Okay,
Right.
that handle different parts of the
Yeah,
services provided.
and people have different levels of expertise. Certain people handle certain things, and others handle other types of needs for people.
Excellent. And how can they reach your office?
Well, you can call our office at 860-676-0260 at any time. You can call after business hours too. You can always leave a message, and someone will get back to you the following day.
Awesome, awesome. And is there a website that someone can?
Yes, it's www.asbofne.com, American Senior Benefits of New England.
Excellent. Victor, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for this information. I think it's really important because, as I mentioned before, while out on the street and working with our senior community, I run across a lot of these situations. And again, one doesn't figure in having or the need to have a planner for their future. Because you could save all the money that you want, but you just get sick and all of a sudden,
Well, too, I think that sometimes people who aren't making a lot of money think that that kind of service is not available to them. And we want to dispel that notion that everyone should have access to having someone be able to help them get through something that is not naturally their level of expertise. So why stress yourself over it when you can have access to people who will be able to walk you through the process?
Exactly, exactly. Well, thank you so much for coming on in and shedding light on this information. we'd love to have you come back on a future date, and I'm sure there's much more that we can cover.
Yeah, we just barely the tip of the iceberg as far as this is concerned.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And
Okay.
thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time.